Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode number 4 of the Loresworn Order podcast. You can find us online at www.loresworn.com. That's where we post most of our articles. That's where our blog goes up, and all of the links to our other media is there. You can also find us on Twitter at Loresworn Order. You can find TJ at AsaTJ and me at ChloeLiz05. You can find us on Twitch at Loresworn Order and on YouTube at Loresworn Order. And I think that gets rid of all of our channels so far.
I think so, yeah.
We have everybody here today. TJ has been gaming up a storm. Brianna has been descending clouds of dust and sawdust into our apartment, and it's pretty awesome and glorious. DM has been working on writing like 1.5 million projects. Like every time I talk to you, you're writing something different. It's awesome.
I got about 10 things in the fire right now.
And I am just sort of here, providing bubbly entertainment for anybody who happens to be bored.
That sounds like something you'd see on like a Japanese billboard. Providing bubbly entertainment for anyone who happens to be bored.
Bubbly soup.
It's funny to see foreign advertisements in English. They use adjectives for stuff that we would never use for like that particular type of thing.
Bubbly, squishy wonderfulness.
Yes, exactly.
Now in melon flavor.
No, if it was in Japan, it would be something like, squid melon.
Squid melon. I'd try that. I would.
You would?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're nuts.
I'll try anything once, even if it ends in profuse vomiting.
Well, we have a lot of stuff to cover today as far as games go, and it's taken us a little while to get around to Batman versus Superman because it's taken us a little while to kind of calm down after the argument we initially had over whether it was good or not. So we'll be covering that today too, but wanted to start out with what everybody has been consuming for inspiration these days.
Well, I have been playing quite a bit of the new Europa Universalis expansion, Mare Nostrum, which is Latin for our water, or something like that.
For our water?
I think it's our sea, but I like saying
Mare is ocean.
I like it better as our water. You can't have this water, Carthage. This is our water. And it's expanded on naval gameplay a lot. It added a lot of new mechanics for large empires that I have not experienced at all because I played as the free city of Hamburg all the way to 1821 without taking over any additional territory, and became roughly twice the size of Paris. So that was a fun little experiment in seeing if you could actually play as a great power in EU4 with only one province, and you can.
Well, TJ can.
Yeah, I can. I mean, I don't know if you can. You might be a scrub. Not a pro like me, but yeah.
I think the last time I tried to play that game, I tried to play as the Ottoman Empire.
It went very poorly for her.
And the decline of the Ottoman Empire. I was like, this would be cool. I could just rewrite history.
Yeah.
Nope. No, you can't. No, you can't.
The Ottomans are pretty strong at the beginning of the game, but they
Austria declared war almost immediately.
At the end of the Austrian Empire.
Oh, okay. So you started
Empire.
one of the later start dates?
Yep.
Yeah.
When the Turks were the sick men of Europe and Austria and Russia did away with her very summarily.
I was like, crap. Never mind.
Yeah.
Now I understand why that empire declined and fell.
Which is one of the great things about a game like EU, and even to a lesser degree games like Total War, is, when they're well made and the situations are well designed from the get-go, you get to actually see play out in front of you why things happen the way they did.
Yeah.
Like, the Ottomans were weak in the 1800s and ran into some issues very rapidly. And, it's having it laid out stark for you in terms of crushing gameplay setbacks is as good a teacher of history as any.
Yeah, it's true.
So, Brianna, you've been mostly working with your hands.
Yes. I am triple stacked right now with projects. My main one, that's been my thorn in my side. I'm making a loft bed to raise our bed up so I can have a desk to work, which has caused...
And so we can have a cosplay workshop underneath. It's going to be amazing.
Yes. Which has caused sawdust everywhere, wood laying everywhere. So the frame's ready, the stairs are done. I just am trying to finish up sewing the rug right now so the wood doesn't destroy the mattress. And I'll make the railing, and that's pretty much it. So sometime soon I'll be able to catch up and have more time for things. I do plan on starting to play EU with TJ and starting to learn the games that Paradox have.
We're actually planning on doing a multiplayer stream with all 4 of us once we can actually get the server situation set up.
Yep.
Turns out
We've been wrestling with that for forever.
streaming with 2 people is significantly more complicated than 1, and 4 is exponentially more complicated than 2. Which I guess mathematically makes sense because 2 to the second power is 4, but it's a higher exponent than that.
All that to say, we're working on it, and
we're really excited about getting to do it as soon as we can figure out how to make it not, crash on us every 5 seconds.
we just need to acquire the correct technology and set it up the right way, and I'd say we're closer to that goal than ever.
Yeah.
That said, if any of you tech-savvy people out there have any brilliant ideas, we would love to hear them. Thank you publicly on our website and social media.
Yes, indeed, we would.
So let's see, DM, what have you been reading or playing?
I've been reading just a lot of stuff and writing a lot of stuff and playing a lot of stuff. I recently got through 3 of the 4 books of D.B. Johnson's Thief Taker Chronicles, which is an alternate history urban fantasy set in pre-Revolutionary War Boston.
Nice.
Featuring a spellcaster, a conjurer of sorts, who works as sort of a bounty hunter who hunts down thieves and retrieves what they stole in 1860s and 1760s, and 1770s Boston. It's extremely interesting world building, extremely interesting. Just a take on modern fantasy not being modern, but not being, in some fictional high fantasy or low fantasy setting is pretty cool. I'd never really read anything like it, and I'm enjoying it. I got his 4th book, Dead Man's Reach, queued up on my Audible wish list, so that's coming. I've been playing Dark Souls 3 to review and cover that game. That has been an experience, a great experience. It's, in my opinion, it's the best designed Dark Souls title to come from as of yet. The combat is just wicked sharp. I'm loving all the weapons. I'm loving the boss design. It's extremely difficult, as is their penchant for creating games that just make you want to take your hair out.
So far, Dylan still has all of his hair.
I do. That's just because I have long, luscious locks that grow very fast anyway. So, and tremendous bounce. The secret is to not repeat when you lather and rinse. If anyone actually gets that reference, you're going to get an internet high five from me because it is obscure.
Well, if we did like a hair advice channel, those get like 3 million views on YouTube.
Yeah.
We're in the wrong
Hair and
category.
makeup.
I can't give you any hair advice, folks, because you do not have the full body, wonderful straightness, and soft silkiness
Also,
that I've got.
every time-
You just don't, and I can't teach you. So you were born with it or you weren't. I was born with it.
I was just thinking you should add on to your Viking logs, Viking hair tips.
Yeah.
Use that conditioner and cry deeply. That's my advice for trying to get hair like mine.
That's really all I do. Is I condition the shit out of my hair and then brush it back.
So tying back to what DM was saying about world building, if you guys are interested in some more of our thoughts about world building, we did cover that a lot in episode 3, in case you are joining us for the first time or you missed the last episode.
We did. And really nobody does world building like From Software does right now currently. I love how they do it. I love how every single detail in every environment, item description, or character is salient, but nothing comes out and slaps you on the face. You have to pay attention.
It's almost more world presentation than world building, because you don't learn the whole story unless you explore everything and read every item description, and even then there's room for people to like theorize about why stuff is a certain way.
There's always room for theories.
When you think about it, that is, in a way, and obviously a non-realistic setting, what with dragons and shit, that is a realistic method of presentation. Mm-hmm. The real world very rarely slaps you upside the head with exposition. You create your own exposition. Mm-hmm. For example, I'm about to test to try to become an attorney, about to take the Colorado bar. The law doesn't slap you upside the head. You've got to dig your way through a mountain of cases, a mountain of codes, a mountain of facts to figure out the story. And you'd have to do that if you were to suddenly wake up from a grave and discover that you were destined to kill a whole bunch of demonic monsters and shit in a world rapidly descending into dystopia. I love the Dark Souls 3 world.
Mountain of Facts was a very difficult boss. That was
Mountain of Facts is the most difficult boss I've ever beaten in my life. And he's about ready to come for a rematch, and I am dubiously prepared. I love how they do it. It's frankly, if you want to get good story and good narrative out of a Dark Souls game, you've got to think critically and you've got to pay attention, and you can kind of add that on to the famous or infamous difficulty of the series, and that's just something I dig. So I'm having a lot of fun. I am currently stuck at the Cathedral of the Deep, getting killed repeatedly, but something tells me a breakthrough is imminent. You can't keep a good gamer down for long.
Except you rage quit like 3 times last night.
Rage quit is a strong word. I decided to take a break from my death spiral to watch Kimmy Schmidt. Unforgivable.
I think rage quitting is kind of part of the Dark Souls experience. Like you do rage quit every once in a while.
Yeah.
He's like, no, stop it.
I rage quit so hard that I put the game down for a whole year and decided I didn't like it until I picked it back up again. And
at my urging, at my continuous urging. Exactly. I was like, this game is a game you're going to love. You just have to headbutt through that initial.
Yeah, once you get past the tourist demon, it's like, okay, I get it now. Yeah.
You develop.
It's like Purgatory. You just keep going.
Well, it's one of those games where you develop skill. Like it's a skill dependent game. You got to get good, as Dark Souls 3's own official Twitter handle once told someone looking for either advice or an easy mode in a patch. He said, "We've got advice for you. Get good."
Yeah.
It's a skill based title, and again, that's for a fantasy setting. That's realistic. And once you get some comfort with your weapon set and your play style, it's not as hard as advertised, but I think a lot of its legendary difficulty comes from that first 5 hours when you're so vulnerable because you suck, frankly.
Yeah.
And to be quite frank, every single Souls game I've played, right back to Demon Souls, has sharply decreased in difficulty every several areas. I survive every boss I beat. Mm-hmm. You get comfortable, you get skillful, and I think that's a rewarding gaming experience by its very definition. So that's inspiring the hell out of me, and we'll be streaming something cool we've got in mind for streaming some Dark Souls 3. That's coming up. We're obviously still working on our streaming issues, but you can look for that soon. I would say imminently soon.
So I know that you guys in particular have been working on some fairly large projects.
Yes.
TJ, do you want to update everybody on what you are doing with Stellaris? Because it's super exciting.
Well, DM and I are doing something called Galactic Chronicles. I almost said Stellar Chronicles, which would have just confused everybody, and now you are confused.
It's Galactic Chronicles.
Galactic
and you know
Chronicles.
What? They're going to be some Stellar Chronicles.
They are going to be stellar.
Use it as an adjective.
It's kind of a take on the historical chronicles format that a lot of you are familiar with me for, but we're doing it with Stellaris, and we're going to be doing it a little bit differently, because it's going to be multiplayer. DM and I are both going to be playing an empire in the same galaxy.
A large galaxy.
Very large galaxy. We're going to do full 1,000 stars, which I think is the max size, and we're only going to do 18 empires.
Including our own.
16 AIs plus our 2, because we want to preserve sort of like the sense of discovery and the boundlessness of space.
We don't want our galaxy to get crowded.
We don't want it to turn into EU4 in space after like the first 2 hours, which is kind of what we've been seeing on the Paradox streams for Stellaris. So that kind of informed our decision there. And
because Galactic Chronicles is based in Stellaris and not in history, as obviously we do not have FTL travel in the year 2200.
Yeah.
We're doing it from a fictional standpoint, a sort of fictional sandbox, whereas TJ's EU and Crusader Kings Chronicles are sort of an alternate history. Written and given to you. They will be very much in the fashion of consuming a history text, or
not necessarily a text, but it's presented as a multimedia course with lots of sources, and this is going to be just more like almost a serial adventure.
We're embracing the sci-fi aspect
I mean, we're going to have short stories. We're going to probably have some like radio play type stuff.
There's a lot of cool stuff in the works, not the least of which a Stellaris stream featuring one of I'm confident in saying one of the planet's more skilled Paradox players, and me. I'm getting there. If Paradox games were the NBA, I'd be in the D League, but I'm working very, very hard.
Yeah.
Very, very hard.
Would you say I'm the LeBron James of Paradox strategy games?
I don't have anyone to compare you to, but I'd probably say it is likely that you are in the Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, LeBron James career.
I go for Kevin Durant. I respect the facial hair there.
Yeah, indeed. And the 6'11", lethal scorer, 32 points per game MVP season.
There we go, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
That's a sports reference for those of you who actually can understand them.
So yeah, we're going to be streaming the whole thing, which for the Historical Chronicles I am not. I'm basically using the game
just too big
as a tool to build the story, but the stream is going to be an integral part of it. Yep. You're going to see every second of gameplay more or less, and we are going to focus on the types of stories we want to tell are like the little things you can pull out of the big story, like the first time human colonists land on another planet. We want to tell that story in detail on a human level through either a short story or like a record. Because
the grand narrative will be there for your consumption. It'll be in the streams, and then the streams will later be posted to YouTube as a video series, and you'll be able to follow the grand arcing narrative, what happens. And we're going to be filling in the little gaps with our multimedia presence and our fiction writing ability. And we're extremely excited for that. I think that project has a ton of potential. Paradox games don't get near enough credit for the wonderful sandbox they represent, not just great strategy games. There are role-playing tools there, and we're really looking forward to showing that off.
And the place to keep up with all of our Chronicles content is go to Loresworn.com, and there is now a Chronicles tab right next to blog, and also just Loresworn.com/Chronicles, plus all of our social media, because it will get posted there for sure as well.
Repeatedly.
Yes.
Multiple times.
That's our big summer event. It's our Marvel Civil War thing, basically. Yeah.
Coming soon, as I just said a little earlier, but just to tell you a little bit more about it, we are going to try a Dark Souls 3 stream. We're going to do that from a bit of an interesting gimmick. We're going to create a character that we have already created. We're going to transplant the protagonist of the Aiden Grayson saga, Aiden Grayson, into From Software's Nightmare Universe, and
this is our novel series for those of you who don't already know.
Yep. And we're going to build the character to sort of represent that hero. We're going to play the game and talk about the environment we encounter, telling you what he might think of it, and what he might be doing, and what his reactions to certain things might be. And we're hoping that this is an instrument for us to examine From's world building, their creature design, which is really quite fantastic, and just have a good time introducing you guys to a character who is, we think he's fairly funny.
Very near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah, and if you think otherwise, please don't tell me, because that would make me sad.
You can tell me though. I'll fix it.
She's got the earmuffs on, thereby implying that I don't handle criticism well, and she wouldn't be wrong.
No, it's okay. I have the Twitter handle. He doesn't.
That's true.
Privacy.
Yeah. Also, we are going, or I guess I am, but as the Loresworn Order, we are going to be in London on May 3rd and 4th for the Stellaris multiplayer launch stream event that Paradox is running. So expect to see a lot of content from that. If you have specific questions about the game that someone who has access to the interface for about 12 hours across 2 days would be able to find for you, let me know on Twitter. I'll also be posting a Reddit thread in the Stellaris subreddit. Anything you want me to try to mine out of the UI for the time that we're now writing this on the whiteboard, because I apparently did not mention I was going to do this to anyone else. So if anything that I might be able to pull that you want to know about the game that hasn't actually been made public or seen on any of the official streams yet, I will try to get as much of that information as possible.
Basically, what TJ is saying is that we are super lucky, very grateful to Paradox, and very excited to be able to give you guys kind of a sneak peek into the game.
Yeah.
We've got a fan representing the fandom.
This will be the first time that anyone outside of the company has played multiplayer, I believe, and might be some of the first hands-on that anyone outside the company has had, because I think their last press tour, they just had PR and developers running the game, and everyone else just watched. So, yeah.
Make sure you guys follow the Loresworn Order and all of our social media, because TJ is going to be there representing the order and getting that preview, and you'll find exclusive content.
Yeah.
So basically that sums up what we're working on. Pretty much it's Stellaris and Dark Souls. So if you guys are fans, watch us. And DM, do you want to give us a little bit of update on Crucible?
First of which, I want to thank all of our beta readers. Our beta program ended a month or two ago. We got tremendous feedback. I was extremely excited to get it all. Some of it actually consistent across the board, across all our beta readers. And
we had a couple people hand us back PDFs, and they're like, I really loved this. And they had like gone through and highlighted everything.
Seeing my own work.
Like, here's my question. Why did he do this? How did he
Seeing
do this?
my work
yes.
annotated at length was gratifying in the extreme.
Oh, yeah.
And that happened multiple times. So I'm extremely thankful. I've taken some of that feedback to heart and am currently applying it with a fine-toothed comb. I actually, after getting some of those notes back, I very firmly believe that I can improve Crucible still further. And you only get one chance to launch a series. So I'm working hard to make sure that we put our best foot forward. I'm examining even the layout of my early series in book order to sort of maximize and respond to concerns and address criticisms. And hopefully all this will result in a better, more entertaining Aiden Grayson saga. And that's really what we're doing the fiction writing for. This is my dream isn't so much top of the New York Times bestseller list, although that would be nice. Tell your friends. My dream is that you see this book in an airport, you pick it up, and as you're going on your vacation and as you're having your downtime on the plane or by the pool or whatever, you're entertained. It makes those little quiet moments just a little bit better and a little less empty. So if I can make a more entertaining novel to suit that purpose, I'm going to do so. And I appreciate your patience. It's coming.
So keep an eye out for stuff. We're hoping to gear up this fall, ready for the Christmas season. We'll see if we're able to make that happen. But we really want to get an amazing first book out.
You only get one chance to start.
For that.
You only get one chance to start.
Tell your friends. Tell the New York Times.
So now for the grand finale event, we're going to fight over whether Batman vs. Superman was a good movie or not.
Yeah, all right.
So,
all right, guys, take sides.
Spoiler alert. If you have not watched the movie,
stop listening.
I guess don't listen.
Or don't go see the movie, would be my advice.
No, go see the movie.
Don't waste your money.
You go to see it at a cheap
awful.
theater on the Tuesday when they sell tickets for very cheap.
Brianna and I have not seen it. Chloe really liked it, and DM did not like it, is I believe the
I did.
Dislike it is an understatement. I thought it was god-awful. It was a horrible movie.
Okay.
So let's do this debate style. Chloe, what is your opening statement on Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice?
Okay. I will prelude this by admitting to everybody listening that I am not an avid Batman comic book reader.
Okay, you're done. No, I'm just
kidding. I am not. I am, however, a lover of film and a lover of comic book movies in particular.
Okay.
I go to comic book movies because they entertain me, because they lift me out of my world, because they usually present me with compelling characters or compelling scenarios or whatever. So that's what I'm looking for when I'm going. So that is partly my perspective. I'm not deeply attached to these characters, and I guess I don't really apologize for that being part of my perspective, but that is part of my perspective, and I recognize that it gives me a bias. That said, I thought Batman vs. Superman was one of the most visually stunning superhero movies that's come out in a long time. The visual grammar that was utilized throughout the film, creating like recurring images that sort of built on each other and created these feedback loops of like reference to each other, was amazing. I loved the casting. Again, this is because I'm not attached, as I've been told, I'm not attached to the original characters, but I thought the actors did an amazing job, and I thought they presented compelling characters in a way that I hadn't thought of them before. which I like because I'm actually a very big fan of the idea of whenever you translate written word onto the screen, what a lot of people want is they want like it to look exactly like they felt like it was in their imagination. Mm-hmm. Or I guess in the case of a comic book, they want it to be like a panel for panel imitation of what was in the comic book, which is fine, but it's not anything new. So I actually don't mind when film, instead of just like doing a direct translation of the source material, actually, I guess, adapts it into something that is kind of a new creation, a new take on the story, a new statement, and you can either like it or not. But I don't know if not liking what they did with it means that it's bad. Because I found it highly entertaining. I thought it was gorgeous. And yes, there were plot lines that didn't quite match up, but I mean, we're living in a world where there's an alien who lives on planet Earth, and aliens regularly attack Earth, and there are supervillains, and, you know, so I feel like disbelief needs to be suspended, and Dylan is sitting over here, like, holding his breath.
I'm Raven.
He's done a little watch side to me.
This is not an opening statement. This is a speech. Let it just be said.
No, I needed to give my speech because once DM starts talking, I'm not going to get a word in edgewise because he's just going to keep talking. So
my statement is very brief.
Okay.
Why don't we just go with the title? Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. Justice didn't dawn, which is a symptom of the entire diseased, cancerous tumor that was the plot of this movie.
Justice did too, Dawn. Wonder Woman arrived, and she whipped everybody and said the Justice League is going to happen.
So maybe it should be Justice.
When you do not honor source material, when you do not understand what makes each character, but you still use them anyway, their iconography, their themes, all that to say, Batman is the world's greatest detective. In this movie, he's a blundering dunderhead who can't really get anything right, who leaps to conclusions, who evidently, just for the sake of convenience, abandons the character's famous and noted aversion to killing, instead favoring cold-blooded, aggressive, premeditated murder as a method for delivering justice. I wouldn't call that justice dawning. Superman, comics' famous Boy Scout, a guy who rivals Captain America for his goody two-shoesness, is detached, aloof, petulant, openly disdainful of humanity, and at one time even states that without Lois Lane, he would probably go full injustice on us just immediately. That's not the core of the character. And yet, at the very end of the movie, for no reason, none at all, and this is a problem throughout the plot, riddled in there like so many gunshot pellets of awfulness, is he decides to just change his mind, sacrifice his life for humanity, for everybody, not because any great plot development has occurred or been executed, but just because he feels like it in the moment. We also see such continuity errors as kryptonite being nigh on crippling to one woodenly played Superman, to him being able to hold aloft a kryptonite spear in close contact with his body and execute a full-on flying sonic boom charge.
That was, however, right after a kiss, and it's common knowledge in movies that if you kiss your true love, that gives you supernatural powers to do whatever the heck you want.
It was shit. It was lazy screenwriting. Zack Snyder should be embarrassed. Let's move right on to that.
No. I have some things to say about what you just said. Do you want an opening
rebuttal?
Statement? Okay, rebuttal.
Mine is still half as long as yours.
Do you want to finish, or do you want me to start my comments?
So are we doing the first cross X? Is that where I'm trying to remember the debate format? It's honestly been a long time. Yeah, we're doing Lincoln Douglas.
Okay. So seeing as Dylan didn't actually ask to address anything I said, I am now formally asking to address two things that Dylan said.
Address.
Brianna, you want to be the judge? You want to allow it?
Well, it's her turn now.
Okay.
All right, it's my turn. Awesome. So first of all, the problem that everybody has with Superman not being as good a Boy Scout as he was in the comic books, I maintain that Boy Scout goody two-shoes attitude, that would not work in a modern movie. It wouldn't.
It worked in the Captain America movies.
It did.
Yes, because Captain America is a relic of 1940s. He woke
Superman
up
is a
in
relic
America-
of 1940s.
No.
He punched Hitler.
Look at.
But this Superman is not. This Superman did not grow up in the 40s. He did not punch Hitler. This Superman grew up in our generation, in our world. And he is now extremely disillusioned. And his comment to Lois Lane about "you're the only thing that keeps me human" was actually directed at her because he's so sad that humanity has rejected him because he can't figure out why they don't like him right now. Largely
Humanity
because...
didn't reject him. He was nigh on worshipped by a bunch of Mexicans.
Here's the thing.
But the context
Problematic iconography included.
the problem around that was that this was all in response to the hearings that the Senate was holding about whether they needed to literally force Superman to be under some sort of mandate or not. So he was actually directly addressing that storyline.
Yeah, that storyline that came, went,
It did kind
was
of
not
come and go.
addressed
I
again.
will give you that. That's fine.
Here's why I think I agree with DM on this one is because to me you have to understand the core of the character. And the core of Superman as a character is that he serves as a symbol to make other people better. Mm-hmm. He's not necessarily as much of a character. And I could see that Zack Snyder wanted to make him more of a flawed movie character. That I can see
He tried.
where his logic was, but I think when you are taking something that so many people already know and already love and fundamentally changing what he's about, I don't know that I really like that. I don't know that I can
A
necessarily...
great moment to articulate that point.
Yeah.
The first conflict, the first moment Batman versus Superman occurs.
Yeah.
Superman drops down in front of the Batmobile, causes it to violently wreck, tears it apart, and tells Batman that he has just been retired and to consider this mercy, the tacit threat of death upon the next meeting being articulated. Superman as a character, other than the Injustice storyline, which was made, by the way, guys, to support a video game.
Yeah.
To threaten another hero or even another individual with outright murder if his will is defied, you're so off the map for the Superman character that you can't come back. And the final attempt to come back, Superman sacrificing his life in a dubious and ham-fisted attempt to reenact the death of Superman's final moment. Batman or Superman versus Doomsday. It ends in a mutual death. Doomsday, by the way, God, what a butchered character in Zack Snyder's film. I could go off on that for 30 minutes. He ruined that character worse than he ruined Batman or Superman. I won't say he ruined Wonder Woman because she had about 30 lines of dialogue in the entire film. But that moment, and to sort of anchor the center of a character arc, and then we end with a noble sacrifice, this great hero that the world will mourn the world over. Henry Cavill's Superman is not a hero. He's a tyrant. He's a threatened murderer. The moment in Man of Steel where he howls in anguish after snapping Zod's neck is wasted because he clearly has no problem spending human life, wasting human capital, destroying our property and treasure. He's not a hero. And Batman surrenders all right to call himself a hero or a defender of humanity when he decides, basically point blank, I'm going to kill this dude. Screw justice, screw trial, screw due process. I'm going to brand, I'm going to maim, and I'm going to murder Superman. These aren't the characters we grew up with. This is not a tribute to any classic comic book line, such as one written by, say, the legendary Frank Miller or Superman Year One that's come out. Those comics are fantastic. This is not a tribute. This is not an offshoot. This is not inspired by. This is a bastardization of beloved characters. And it's just shittily written. One of the weaker screenplays I've ever encountered.
You'll notice the screenplay wasn't one of the things I was gushing about.
Yeah.
I mean, I did appreciate that they actually showed more than tell a lot of stuff. They did a lot more visual storytelling than like actual dialogue exposition, which I kind of wish would happen more, especially for these larger iconic stories. Because I just think that is like the visual element is underutilized, especially when you're adapting something as iconic as a comic book. Because you have these beautiful little details that you can put in.
So
the cinematography was.
Here's what I want to ask DM: if this had not been tied to any licensed property, like if it had just been Alien Man versus the Dark Avenger. Would you have enjoyed the movie in that case?
That's
You
a good
know,
question.
I might have enjoyed it more. The screenplay problems were numerous and multifaceted. I didn't like that plot points would just originate only to be dropped. I don't like that technology is just conjured out of nowhere in Zack Snyder's movies. Like Batman invents an Iron Man suit that can go toe-to-toe with Superman. We don't know how. We don't know where this technology has been, as everybody debates
I was
how
also
dangerous
slightly
Superman
confused
is.
as to why he took it off. But
I didn't like that these two men who until recently had spent an entire movie talking openly about cold-bloodedly murdering each other bonded over the mutual first name of their mother. And nothing else. I didn't like how we reversed course on the villain. Not at the climax of the movie, but before. We have again, an awful bastardized portrayal of Lex Luthor, but an ably acted.
Beautifully acted.
an
Oh my
ably
goodness.
acted.
It was like you could not peel your eyes away.
Lex Luthor
Yes.
as not a genius, incredibly mentally ill, and dangerously
I
psychotic.
felt like he was like a tech millionaire playboy sort of like.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
at no point,
gosh,
ever
this is-
demonstrating any intelligence or tech savvy. But that's something else.
This is totally subjective, but Jesse Eisenberg is just one of those actors that I don't.
Yeah,
he does
Oh,
not
see, I
click
like
with
him.
me. I
He
don't
brought-
like his on-screen
I
chemistry.
like
he
him.
brought he brought probably exactly what the script and the director told him to
Yeah.
bring. It was just terrible, but he threw himself into it, and we had his villain supplanted by a Doomsday as Deus Ex Machina, sort of at
He's
the end.
basically just a screaming monster,
Yeah,
right? That's basically what
Yeah,
I've
no
heard.
plot.
Pretty much, he's just a monster that Lex.
We don't
Luthor,
even
like,
really
releases
know
on
what he
Batman and
is.
Superman
He's sort
in
of
order to kill God.
He's
Gotcha.
implied to be some sort of Kryptonian mutation that the dead body of Zod's genetic material is used to facilitate the creation
As
of.
well as the blood of.
Yeah,
Lex
he
Luthor.
just screams a lot and
Now-
kicks a lot of ass,
and
and
I actually-
randomly has the powers of the Superman villain Parasite.
One of the reviews I watched said that they thought it was a big missed opportunity that they didn't just make Doomsday be Zod. Like, he's resurrected Zod, and then you have that character back who has history with Superman.
Well,
from
and
agree.
previous movies.
here's-
Zod being a highlight of the Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was an incredible role, incredibly written, incredibly acted.
Yeah.
I would say the highlight of the Man of Steel movie. I agree. So, what if it was alien messianic god versus Dark Avenger? I'd have enjoyed it more because I would have been able to approach the characters the way they're supposed to be approached, to get into their heads the way that's supposed to happen. I liked Zack Snyder's take on Watchmen more than most
too.
people did.
I love Zack Snyder. I
beautiful.
used to say Zack Snyder is one of my favorite directors.
He improved the ending of that.
I agree.
that
I
story.
agree.
He
His
did.
ending was superior
It
to the
was.
original ending.
And
Yep.
he stayed true to the themes and the tone of the original Watchmen comic, the incredible darkness and the bleak human pessimism that just pervaded that whole work. So had he gone with original characters and then done a better job in the script of filling in the numerous potholes and then giving each character a motivation for their bloodlust, penchant towards homicide, and deep-rooted anger issues, and then also maybe articulating a little bit better why they were so eager to utterly abandon those homicidal tendencies and actually be heroes, other than the name Martha being a
Yeah.
mutual
Well,
See, here's the reason that I kind of am not as upset about the plot holes as I think most other people were. I got the feeling in this movie that I very rarely get in other superhero movies, that it's very much a moment inside of a larger world where there's a lot of other stuff happening, which was one of the reasons that I really liked the way they incorporated Wonder Woman sort of very, very, very slowly throughout.
I won't criticize that.
She wasn't just like boom at the end. And even as they were discovering the Justice League stuff, it's like, yeah, this doesn't really have to do with anything that's happening in this plot, but the world is bigger than this plot. And I thought that was and so that I think is why I forgave a lot of the story
lot of
plot,
my-
because I'm like,
yeah.
it's a bigger world, so I'm
Here's-
going to find out next
Here's
time.
the thing: you have to tell a story.
Yes,
though,
I
right?
absolutely agree.
And when you don't tell a story, character motivations tend to unravel. For
Yeah.
example, Superman in this story despises Batman and his methods. Evidently believes he's worthy of death, is a dangerous guy. Right. So we have this moment where Superman threatens to kill Batman should they ever meet again, where Batman is wearing the cowl, following a high-octane chase through Gotham City in which
the
Batman
Batmobile
is
gets the best reveal ever. Is like, dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But in which Batman is shot at, a bazooka is shot at him, a .50 caliber machine gun is shot at him. Multiple civilian casualties are incurred as Batman chases these extremely and oddly well-armed villains throughout the streets of Gotham City.
There weren't civilian casualties.
Buildings were destroyed. Cars were knocked off the road.
They were in like an abandoned... Okay, cars were knocked off the road.
Here's the deal, though. So this chase concludes with the roof of this semi-truck shredded and the bad guys inside armed to the teeth, basically waiting for Batman to catch up with them because they've been having this armed shootout in which these guys are escalating the arms race. It's like, okay, we went from Uzis to assault rifles to large caliber machine guns to RPGs, yes, and
grenades.
Superman decides, having been monitoring this whole situation, to knock the Batmobile off the road so he can shake down and threaten Batman, meanwhile letting the highly armed cadre of international terrorists drive off scot-free. They were separated by possibly, just remembering the visuals of that scene, by about 100 yards. So Superman makes a call. He makes a call to whip his dick out and decide his is longer, thicker, and more veiny than Batman's.
Is veiny a good thing? Like,
when you're talking about superhero things, I don't know.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
That's for another podcast about a different topic. But that's a good example for me of why a plot hole can actually butcher a character arc and butcher a plot. It doesn't make sense. The entire scene is not enhanced. In fact, it's entirely derailed. And that happens repeatedly throughout the movie. We see again when Lex Luthor cedes the villain title to Doomsday, we don't get an explanation of what Doomsday is. We don't get an explanation of why he was even summoned. We know that Lex Luthor was trying to set it up so that Batman killed Superman. But he had this contingency plan, this apocalyptic weapon, I guess.
Yeah.
So much of this stuff would have been answered if they had just had, like... I don't actually know what the original shooting script looked like, but I would really like to see the director's cut of this movie.
And I will say I would too. And I would definitely watch a director's cut of it because I did get the sense that part of yes.
And that's one of the reasons that I was like, this is a lived-in world. Like, there's more going on here
some
than
of the
is on
problems
screen.
were bad at it.
So I'm just going to go ahead and assume that somebody knew what happened. And if it ends up being like Lost, like the end of Lost, where literally all of the writers were just like, fuck it. We didn't actually finish this.
Let's just...
You guys all loved this show. Sorry they were all dead.
Yep.
Or wait, were they dead? Actually, I was.
I'll respond to that.
I could actually accurately explain the ending of Lost, but it would take me about 20 minutes.
So basically, all that to say, if it's that kind of explanation, then I will be mad. But I don't feel like we had the full explanation.
I'll conclude with this. Fair enough. As a fiction author and screenwriter, and part of this was hammered into me by my editor, who is sitting right across from me. If I have to force my reader or my viewer to assume, to fill in gaps, or to otherwise come up with headcanon in order to explore away my holes or my tragic writing flaws, I have failed. And the work may not be irredeemable, but it does not deserve to be called good. And it would at that point deserve to have the scorn of critics and learned, educated consumers of this media heap piles of shit on it. And that is exactly what has happened. Fair enough that you were okay with having to fill in those gaps with assumptions and headcanon. That does not redeem the writing. That does not redeem the editing.
That's fair.
And it does not redeem the poor direction. And that would just basically be... It was a missed opportunity. I'll watch the director's cut as well, because I think the edit was bad. I really do. And I'd imagine that the 4-hour-long cut of the movie, likely coming to Blu-ray, is probably superior, if long, bloated, and incredibly boring.
And again, I think I was probably in the same seat as most of the fans where I was actually watching this movie for Wonder Woman. because she's my girl. That is the comic book that I actually read when I was a kid. And
that's what I'm excited about.
I want that movie to happen so badly.
Part of the reason I still haven't seen this movie and was just not hyped for it at all is they're not structuring this franchise correctly.
No, they failed.
I do agree with that. They're
like,
structuring it weird.
They needed to do I know
mushy.
that they wanted to try to be different from Marvel and they want to leap into crossovers and get to Justice League as fast as possible, but it's no, give us a couple Batfleck movies.
Yep.
Give us maybe one more Superman and then a Wonder Woman Flash.
I will tell you this, as far as Batfleck movies, Ben Affleck was working with nothing. Terrible dialogue, poor direction.
I loved
brought
Ben
it
Affleck.
so
I
hard.
loved him as
He brought
Batman.
it so hard.
He's a massive Batman fan.
Consider
in real
me
life, too,
officially excied for the Batman movie he's writing, directing, and
God,
starring
yes.
in.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I will say his performance and that he brought it so he had not a single good line of dialogue or really even anything interesting to do and was still compelling. I am so excited for a Batman fan who will be respectful of the character and respectful of the themes and common storylines to take a stab at this.
You know who
And I don't feel like he's going to be nearly as dark as Nolan was, which was my biggest thing that I didn't like about Nolan. I felt like it just sucked all of the positivity
this
or
Batman
joy
is
out of
this Batman is
anything.
beating dudes to death in this. So I mean, it might be pretty damn dark. I don't know, but I'll still watch.
So you know who I'm excited for is Jason Momoa as Aquaman.
Oh, what a
I think that's going to be epic.
He's perfectly cast.
I'm not even a huge Aquaman. Well, there are versions of Aquaman I've really liked, but I'm a huge Jason Momoa fan in just about everything he's been in. So.
There's this one sequence where they find a file from Lex Luthor and they're looking and it's all of the we see all of the Justice League people. And I think that shot of Aquaman that they have there is one of my favorite constructed shots I've ever seen because it's so
Even though it took the form of everyone's
really
favorite
confusing.
plot device, the thumb drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really confusing, but it was such a pretty shot because his hair is everywhere.
I'm
And
excited
it
for
grows like an animal, and he I don't
I'm
even
excited
know what
for
he was
the
fighting
Flash.
at that point.
I love the Flash as a hero. I'm a Flash fan. I actually like the Flash on CW with Grant Gustin and all those guys.
I need to watch that one.
They're doing a great job over there.
See, and that's another thing I don't understand.
Putting the Flash.
Why don't they unify? They have these TV shows going, but it's a different universe from the movies that are coming out at the same time. That as an OCD
We
fandom
will not be
person,
making that mistake
that
when
drives
we
me
create
nuts.
our larger
That
universe.
drives me absolutely nuts. That there's going to be a Flash movie that comes out concurrently with a Flash TV show that have different actors and take place in different realities.
If that bothered you, wait till you actually watch the movie and see how they introduce the Flash in Batman vs Superman.
I kind of have
Yeah, I
already
didn't even
read
have
it.
anything to do about it.
it's the worst piece of shit I've ever seen in a superhero movie.
Yeah.
So Batman becomes psychic. He just becomes psychic. He has a prophetic dream of the future. And then
Oh,
the
yeah, this is
Flash
before he finds the thumb
comes
drive.
back in time in a pseudo
dying?
hallucination
Okay.
and speaks to Batman.
You're right about him.
Yeah.
Lois is the key.
What an awful scene.
I have read a theory that
Stab him.
I have read a theory that
Stab him.
that was actually the Flash running faster than the speed of light so he could go back in time
Which the Flash can do.
and save Batman and make sure that the Justice League happens, and then we're going to see
Well,
that.
he also
Except
did
he
add
encourages
at the very
Batman
end-
to kill Superman.
At the very end, he added, he's like, oh, shoot, I'm too early. Lois is the key. And it's I don't know. That was one of those moments where I was like, all right, wider world, I'm just going to go with it. I don't know what just happened.
And while she does that with those moments, I was like, oh my god. And I groaned audibly.
Yeah. I just can't wait to see, because everybody's made fun of Aquaman for so long. I can't wait to see him be the guy who fucks shit up in the Justice League.
This version of Aquaman
really
looks,
cool.
like the Aquaman in the Justice League cartoon and the Superior Justice League Unlimited cartoon.
Yeah.
The underwater deep sea warlord.
Exactly.
I love that version of the character. I
love that DC took a character that everyone made fun of. It was we're just gonna make him the biggest badass possible and get rid of the old cartoon blonde freaking dapper hair or whatever.
That could that version of Aquaman could no longer be taken seriously after the Family Guy.
This is my point
parody of
about
him.
adapting stories to new audiences and taking
that's the thing.
taking this stuff.
Aquaman was a joke. Superman had a very strong, serious following.
Superman was also a dick. Let's be honest.
No, he's not.
No, in a lot of the comics, he was.
That's been a more recent development, but he's not a petulant child willing to out and out commit cold-blooded murder.
I'm just saying.
He is one of those villains who routinely pulled the Goku.
Superman?
Like, let's go fly out to some expanse of wilderness that exists nowhere out on Earth to fight so that we may spare the civilian populace our overpowered wrath. In Zack Snyder's film, Superman does not care how many buildings he's thrown into or levels. He does not care one whit for the collateral damage of his... And that's more Dr. Manhattan than Superman. And I guess part of me wonders, having said that, how much of the Watchmen bled over into these movies.
It's pretty clear to me that Zack Snyder reads a lot of Frank Miller, and he reads a lot of... I can't think of the guy who wrote Watchmen. Everybody's going to completely...
Alan
Moore. Yeah,
Alan Moore.
And that's those are really the only comics he's into, and he wants to make every comic book character into an Alan Moore
of those characters.
Character.
He turned Superman into Dr. Manhattan, which doesn't work, in my opinion. I would have loved to see a Watchmen sequel featuring a new, more hardcore Night Owl versus an avenging god, Dr.
That movie
Manhattan.
was not successful enough. They'll never make another Watchmen movie.
No, probably not.
Which is sad. Actually, after this, they
wasn't...
might not make another Batman versus Superman movie. So
I would be okay.
See.
Well, I do want to see Ben Affleck in a solo Batman movie. I think that should happen, but I wouldn't mind if they did
he deserves it. He's the strongest Batman I've ever seen.
A soft reboot of the rest of the Justice League, basically. And just start out. Let's just start over. Let's just have Batman. Just have that be your Iron Man. Have the Batfleck movie. That's your Iron Man 1, and then we're just gonna build from there and
forget about this one.
Yeah,
I'd be okay with it because I mean, like I said, I
we're
liked
not
the movie.
that lucky.
I was thoroughly entertained. That was what I went to the movie to see. I thought it was beautiful.
It was a beautiful film. I'll give it that. It was visually stunning.
And I think Zack Snyder is a really excellent visual director.
He's an incredible cinematographer. Incredible.
He also
I'm gonna go ahead and say I won.
Underrated, but he made. If I have to say the top 3 zombie movies everyone should watch, it's Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake.
Yes.
28 Days Later and Zombieland. Those are my top 3.
I would agree. And I don't mean to say he's an incompetent director, merely that he butchered that film. Man of Steel was better. I like Man of Steel more than a lot of people like Man of Steel. I thought it was all right.
I did like Man of Steel.
I thought it was an all right. It was an all right Superman movie. It wasn't a great Superman movie. And I could actually, at that point, I could excuse what he did to the character because Batman Year One did the same thing. Making him a little bit more raw, a little bit more like I'm getting a handle on being all powerful.
He did so much unnecessary, the atmosphere thing in Man of Steel was so stupid.
I would agree, and I'm not saying it was a good film.
And it's why? Why would you do that? You didn't add anything, and you're taking away from
I can't wait until you watch Batman versus Superman.
And on that note, I think we are out of time.
All right.
So, thank you so much for listening. You can find all our stuff on our website, www.loresworn.com. We look forward to hearing you. Well, not hearing you. We look forward to seeing that you have watched our next podcast.
And you know what? When this episode goes up, I'm going to put up a poll, and you guys can decide on Twitter who won the Batman versus Superman debate.
Yes.
Between DM and Chloe.
Very
Woo!
Good. Very good.
Vote for me. I'm adorable.
She's better looking than I am. Make sure you judge on the substance of the
You
arguments.
guys are both pretty adorable. It's kind of a tough call, yeah.
All right, well...
Stop kissing ass.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.